pregnant, the last thing you need to hear is what you can and can't do and what you need to do. Just be nice to your baby, make sure your baby develops well. It can be overwhelming. And the last thing that we want to do is add to that list, but there is some new research out there that we think we need to share with all new moms who are currently pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant. The type of science that we're talking about is called fetal origins. It's a science that studies what you can expose your baby to in the womb and how that will affect them throughout their life.
This is craziness, though. I'd never heard about anything like this. Now, I assumed that when you're pregnant, obviously things that you eat, and the doctor tells you don't smoke, don't drink, because these things can affect the baby. It's not like we don't know that. Mm-hmm. But you were telling me that these studies are over such a long period of time. I mean, what are they showing now?
Well, I think everybody realizes that there are certain influences already. I mean, you have heredity, right? There's heredity. You also have environmental,
the nature nurture
lives,
thing.
Yeah, nature nurture, lifestyle change, lifestyle choices that you make and that type of thing.
Right.
But what they're talking about now is not simply what you expose your baby to in the womb to, but what you expose them can actually alter the path of the DNA.
What?
Such as, I mean, if you expose your baby to certain things, it can alter the path of DNA to either prevent them from predisposed cancer. If you're genetically, say for instance, you're genetically predisposed to colon cancer, like it's in my family.
Me too.
There are certain things that they're saying that you can do while you're pregnant, while the baby is actually developing, that can actually put tamp down that predisposition to cancer. No, I'm not kidding.
What? Okay, like what?
Well, let's just kind of go through this a little bit. So you have nature versus nurture, and you've got heredity. Okay, inside, what they're talking about now, first of all, obesity.
Right.
Okay.
Big problem.
Is a huge problem right now. And there's a lot of research and a lot of talk going on. But one thing that they do know for certain is that the weight that the baby is when the baby is born is directly affected to whether the child will be overweight, when they are older.
Okay.
So if you have a high birth weight baby, the chances of that child developing obesity are much greater than if you have a regular child weight. But the other thing that they're finding is that if the mother is overweight and gains a lot of weight, the chances of that baby becoming obese are much greater.
Right.
So if you are pregnant, and they say the average pregnancy, they don't want you to gain more than what are they, 25
to 30 pounds,
30
I think is what the current thing is.
Right. Say, for instance, you gain 60, 70, 80 pounds, which, some women do, that the chances of your child being obese are much greater.
Really?
Yes. Right. And then they said also, if the mother is obese while the child is in utero, the chances are much greater. And a lot of people say, well, if the mother's obese, there might be this heredity connection. But they actually have done tests where the mother has had a child while she was obese. Then she went through lap band surgery or whatever, lost dramatic amounts of weight, got pregnant again. And that second child, while she was at a normal weight, does not develop the obesity like the first child.
Unbelievable.
And
so even in the same household where everybody's eating the same food.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. That you can actually alter the path based upon what they're exposed to in utero. Another study is talking about risk of heart disease. Now, there is genetic influences for heart disease. There are obviously lifestyle choices that lead to heart disease.
Obviously.
But one thing that they have discovered is that babies who are born with a low birth weight are more predisposed to heart disease. And the reason is because if your baby has a lower birth weight, they're saying that developmentally, the baby, while it's developing in utero, perceives that it is starving or not, that it's in stress of some sort, and it diverts a lot of the attention to development to the brain, which is the most important part of the developmental process. Less attention is paid to some of the other organs, in particular the heart, which means that when the baby is born, even though you don't really detect there's an issue with the heart is innately weaker, and that at some point down the line it's going to be more predisposed to heart disease. and that's a factor of how the baby develops in utero. And then another thing that I think is really interesting is that with cancer, and what they're finding is that exposure to air pollution, in particular, certain kinds of air pollution, like traffic pollution, which during pregnancy can lead to lots of different problems, but one of them is the higher prevalence of cancer later on in life.
Really? Okay.
It's been hard to make these studies kind of stick, because
I would think
what you're having to do is you're having to follow a child from, conception basically, or pretty darn close to conception, through to, adulthood and beyond. So it's a multi-decade study that they have to do, and they have not done very many of them. There was one done in Boston that studied 2,000 children from conception all the way to the age of 21. But the National Institute of Health is in the process of launching a multi-decade study where they are actually going from the conception all the way through and following them. But they're coming up with these different things. But one of the things that's really interesting is that they are also doing studies about what can be altered to prevent some of these things. So, for instance, there is a group of Indians that are high risk for type 2 diabetes. And what they have found is that if the mother has type 2 diabetes, the child will probably have type 2 diabetes, while if the child is exposed to that in utero. They're saying it needs to start in utero.
Okay, well,
And if you start it in utero, you have the chance of altering the way the genetics can play out.
That's awesome. But I will tell you, okay, just this is all really interesting and everything, but in practicality, do you remember how hard it was to eat healthy when you were pregnant?
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why when we started it, that's why I was saying we don't want to put any more pressure on you, but it's just food for thought.
What were you living on?
I was living on butter and jelly sandwiches because I was so sick and I couldn't keep anything else down. Right.
I know. Well, I wasn't any better.
Maybe
I was
if I had switched
fluffernutters.
to pomegranate jelly, it would have been different. But I mean, when you're pregnant, sometimes it is what it is.
Yeah. But if you are one of those women, unlike the two of us, and you can eat whatever you want, basically, and you don't suffer from a lot of morning sickness, then it's great to know these things. I mean, why not?
There are other things that you can do by not exposing yourself to massive amounts of air pollution. Maybe you can alter that a little bit. That you can certainly pay attention to how much weight you gain during your pregnancy, and that will help quite a bit.
Yeah, you're going to get some tomatoes thrown on you.
If you do have type 2 diabetes, trying to really maintain and control it while you're pregnant is an important thing. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of different things that you can do.
Tell everybody where you found this study.
Okay, this study is actually being reported right now in Time magazine.
Okay.
And I think it's fascinating. And it's not just, we'll have some links on Mommycast.com. And the thing that's really important is it's not just one study. It's many studies that are reporting kind of the same thing. So it's just food for thought. And I think anybody who's thinking about being pregnant or is currently pregnant, you may want to take a look at this study and think about the things that you are exposing your baby to now while it's in utero.
But don't freak out. It's all okay.
No,
You'll be fine.
You only can do the best you can.
Mama, don't you know you keep the whole world turning round?
Am I making you uncomfortable now?
I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
I can't get mad. Can't get mad.
I'm not touching you.
Stop. Okay.